you brought up something now. You said cultural violence, right?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a big thing, especially for brothers and sisters who have their kids in suburban schools. Is there any advice you could give parents to help them deal with the cultural violence their child may expose being in certain environments?
Yes.
First, define what you mean by cultural violence.
Cultural violence. So, children being exposed to ideas that make them feel inferior, that's a violent act because there are different types of violence, right? There's physical violence. You punch somebody in the mouth, that's physical violence. There's there's emotional violence. There's all types of violence, right? When you cause harm, right? So if I'm a black child and I'm sitting in a classroom and people might think this is extreme, but if you celebrate George Washington, that's cultural violence because I know, and more of us should know that George Washington primarily, when you look at George Washington from an African-centered perspective, George Washington was a slaveholder, right? First and foremost. These white folks can talk about him being the first president and Valley Forge and all that. He could be their hero. President's Day, you want to celebrate him and all that. Maybe buy a TV on sale from somewhere. Cool. But for me, he's a slaveholder first and foremost, right? So if I'm a black child and I'm sitting in a history class and we're not talking about that first and foremost, that's a form of violence because what you're trying to do, you're trying to play in my face because you want me to have a different perception of him as this hero. But then, like, how is he a hero? Like, he believed that my people, my ancestors, should have been enslaved, and he did enslave us. Wow, he was the president in the highest office in the nation, right? So, as parents, we first have to recognize that that's the reality, and we really want to. And again, it's almost like you want to, what is it? Not vaccinate, but you know, uh, protect your children from that by giving them those lessons as early as possible. So by the time they go into the school and, whoever the teachers are and based on whatever the curriculum is, and they try to play in your kid's face, your kids are already protected. They already know, okay, yeah, he about to tell me about this, but I already know better. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these guys, like the Thomas Jeffersons, you know what I'm saying? All these guys, slaveholders, first and foremost, or even like in a math class. In the math class, it's like, oh, every formula is named after some European to give you the impression that math didn't come about until Europeans developed it. But thousands of years prior, our ancestors in ancient Kemet, Nubia, wherever, were using mathematics. We couldn't have had great, thriving civilizations without mathematics because you can't build anything without mathematics. You can't maintain a society without
Highly
mathematics.
efficient mathematics too.
Exactly.
That still exist to today.
You can't forecast anything. You can't plan for anything. You can't manage human beings without mathematics using some type of calculations. So, even that's a form of cultural violence because that's subtly right there. I'm in the math class because you don't gotta tell me that math is not for me. All you gotta do is show me that it's for somebody else. And then I'm intelligent, so unless I do any deeper research. In the absence of any deeper research, I'm gonna internalize that. Because if you show me the textbook and all I see is white folks in the textbook, then I'm naturally going to arrive at the conclusion that, oh, this is for white people. Like Lisa Delpit has that book, Multiplication is for White People, which comes from something a young brother down in New Orleans somewhere when she was observing his some elementary school classrooms. That's what he said. He was like, yo, like, we do addition and subtraction. That's easy. But the harder stuff, multiplication and division, that's for the white people. So that hierarchy is already embedded in a lot of our children, and we don't talk about this enough. But it is like I would argue that our level of mathematical proficiency coincides with our racial esteem, because a lot of us, like, we feel inferior as black people generally. We don't talk about that. A lot of us
Don't talk about it.
right? We just kind of find ways to assuage our egos and do this and do that. And we try to what did Fonte from Little Brother say? Like, we don't want to win. We just want to look good while we losing. So we end up doing a whole lot of that, right? And we don't address the core issue, right? So even a lot of, like, the things that we don't aspire to, or we don't try to do, or we don't sign up for, is because we don't believe. We fundamentally have been programmed and conditioned to believe that we can't do that stuff. And we got to start to ask those questions, like, well, why is it that I don't believe I could do this? Because when you get to the bottom of that, like, it's like Malcolm X said, he said, and look at you. Who told you to hate yourself? It's the same thing.